As I said before, this evening's class only requires a mat and a block stroke cushion, and it's a standing start. I know you probably wanted to start with sitting down or lying down on the floor, but the standing one's more this evening. We're just going to stretch out the legs a little bit, loosen off the wrists. Get the feet to start to move a little bit as well. Shake it out. If you want to, if you really want to sort of get the energy out of your body, you just allow yourself to bounce up and down a little bit. And it's a good way of just starting to pump the blood around the body, but it sort of lowers and calms you as well at the same time. And allows your breath to start working for you. And if you wanted to, you can come still. You could change that into some twisting. You could obviously carry on with the jiggling if you wanted to. The idea of this version is to tap yourself around the back of the kidneys with the arms. Again, it's just working on energy channels, kind of stimulating a few things, clearing a few things out. All good stuff. You'll notice that I sort of sway from side to side a bit, bending the knees and allowing the hips, ankles, and some foot movement to take place, as well as the rotation through the spine. Up to you whether you spin your head round or just keep yourself focused on one single point. Whether you like being dizzy again. And then I'm going to let myself come back to stillness. So mountain pose. We'll bring the feet together. A little gap between the ankle bones. We turn the palms forward a little bit. Just stand tall and straight. If you find this particularly easy, you can do it with your eyes closed, and then you'll notice more obviously that your feet and your leg muscles are doing a lot of work just to hold you still and steady. So try and calm that breath right down. So not a natural breath. This is a conscious breath. It's usually sort of twice as slow. It doesn't have to be super deep, but it is slow. And then just take it out a little bit more. I'm going to come towards the front of the mat and allow myself to bring my hands in towards my heart. And my feet are a good hip distance apart and parallel. I'm going to soften the knees just a tiny bit, like a little micro bend. I draw the belly in from the hips, allow myself to come to the floor with a very flat back. I'm going to try and get my ribs and touch my thighs and the fingers down to the floor. Take a breath and then press the feet into the ground, keeping the ribs and the thighs connected. I come into a deeper forward bend. The legs to feel like they're doing a lot of work. Back just to feel like it's hanging out of the pelvis. Gravity is relaxing those muscles a little bit more. I'm going to take my final breath here, bring my hands over the hips. Got to step forward, get that softness in the knees, and allow myself to lift up. I'm going to scoop the arms out wide, and now take the feet as wide as the mat and the toes inwards a little bit, heels out, and come above the head, hands in towards the heart. Soften the knees again a little bit, take the weight into the toes, hinging forward, down to the floor. Now, as we arrive, I'm going to turn the heels back in and the toes out. Allow myself to squat down as low as I dare. Take a little breath, fold the body down, letting the head hang, the loose shoulders. Next exhale, I'm going to draw the belly in and drive through the legs first and curl myself back up. And then as my body lifts and straightens, I just turn the toes back inwards and bring the hands up above my head. Let the hands come through the heart again. The hinge at the hips, soft knees and a flat back to come down. We're going to do the same thing 3 times. Turn the toes out. Let myself sink back down into my squat. Take the breath. Let the shoulders and the head hang. Get very loose in the upper body. Drive through the legs slowly as I use all of that breath to climb back up. The hands come up, toes come in. Bring the hands into the heart. Exhale down, getting that little softness in the knees to take care of the back of the hamstrings a little for me. Hands onto the floor, toes out wide. Sink into the squat. Take a breath. Exhale in. And then drive through the legs. So lift up. This time, we're going to turn the toes in, bring the hands high. Through the heart, hinging at the hip, the belly drawn in. Hands onto the floor, folding deep into the thighs this time. Hands a little close to the feet. I'm going to step back into my down dog position. Just turning the armpits in towards the body a little bit. Hands flat on the floor. Fingers nicely spread. Heels hiding behind my ankles. The feet are off of the, well, not the whole of my foot, but the heels are off the ground. Interesting if the feet were off the ground. And I want to be able to have a little bit of space to press back in. So as I push the hips back a little more and up towards the sky, with that nice lengthening in the spine, the shoulders feel like they're opening a little bit more. Take one final breath there. And then let ourselves come forward into a plank. Now deliberately keeping the hips as high as the shoulders, and rather than sinking into the shoulders, I push away from the floor. I press out through the heels, strong enough that I can feel my thighs lift. Get the head in line with the rest of my body. Now you'll let the knees come to the floor and keep my toes tucked under as I sit back onto my heels. I want to stretch the fascia out in the bottom of the foot. Take my mind off of my feet a little bit. I'll take the arms out wide, palms forward. Bring that right arm across. Lock the arm with the left and drag the shoulder around a little bit towards the center line. I want to try and keep the hips and the chest pointing forward. So I'm drawing the shoulder around as much as I can. Breathe in and out. Hopefully you can feel a little bit of stretch underneath the back of the shoulder blade. I'm going to release the arms out. And as they come out, I'm going to lift up, untuck the toes, get right back down onto the heels, cross the arms over the other way. As I release, I'm going to let the hands come behind a little bit so I can lift the knees away from the floor. I'm going to get a deep stretch into the ankle of the toes, the bootleg side of the foot. Getting a nice stretch. Belly drawn in to help support a little bit. Move the shoulders back away from the ears as well. And then I'll let the knees come back down. I'm going to take the hands all the way up to the front of the mat. Lift myself up onto all fours and then into that high plank again. From here, I'm going to come into a side plank, taking the legs to my left side, taking the right hand up. I start off on flat one foot, side edge of the lower leg, and then see if I can stack the top leg on top of the lower. Then I'm going to see if I can raise that leg on top, at least as high as my hip. And I want to press out through the toes to a flex foot, heel away, and then turn the toes downwards a little bit and the heel up. I'm going to let the legs come gently down and move myself back into that high plank. And you won't be surprised to hear immediately going over to the other side. So start with the feet staggered, one in front of the other. Until I get my sort of sense of balance and the shoulders sorted out, get some confidence in the hips lifting. Slowly stack one leg on top of the other. Flex the foot a little bit. Allow yourself to lift the leg as high as you can comfortably. Turn the toes down, heel up. Stretch out through the toes. Press the heel away. Remember to breathe. And leave that foot down. And back into that high plank. Take a little breath. Let the knees come as wide apart as they can as they come to the floor, toes together. We'll step back into a wide child pose. Yes, the base can come to the ground. Forehead can tuck down as well. Very long, deep breaths. In the ribs. Letting them stretch out sideways. Lifting the head slightly to look to the hands. Getting myself into a side bend over to the right side. I'm going to rest the ribs on top of that side. It gives you some idea of the angle that I'm taking it out to the side. Breathing a little more into the left rib cage. And then we'll lift the head up again. Walk the hands gently over to the other side. So again, rest on top of the thigh so the left rib gets squeezed a little bit. As you breathe, the right side is open, so the rest moves across the body for us. And just feel that shoulder distance apart, arms are flat on the floor. Take the last long breath in. And then lift the head, come back into the center. Take a little breath from there and lift ourselves slowly up into down dog. Just wiggle out through the hips a little bit. Get nice and comfy. Not staying here too long. We're going to take a little breath. Draw the right knee towards the chest in the down dog state. Then we take a breath in, followed by an exhale. We'll come into a plank. The knee stays in towards the body, and we see if we can get the knee and the nose to touch. Move back into down dog, keeping the heel in towards the buttock. And then we come forwards into the plank and take the knee gently to the outside of the right elbow. We come back to down dog, pushing all the way. And then we come forwards again, taking the knee across the left elbow. Little tap, high as you can, and back into down dog. We'll let that right leg come to the floor. Draw the left knee in, squeeze it in tight. We'll come forward. Little box of the nose and the knee. We'll come back into down dog, followed out with left elbow, left knee. And then coming back, take a breath. We're going across to the right. We come back. From down dog. We're going to see if we can lower the elbows to the ground. Now, have your elbows about shoulder distance apart. Bring your fingers together so they're interlaced. Middle finger tucked under. And take a breath into here. Allow yourself to move into a plank, coming forward. See if you can get your nose to touch the ground just in front of your hand, and then press back slowly as you exhale into this version of down dog that's known as dolphin. You come forwards again, tap the nose, press back, try to stop the elbows from flying out to the side. You want to press down and squeeze in a little bit. Going through again to number 3. Moving our way back. 5. Pressing down. Let the knees come to the floor. Untuck the toes. Release the hands. Ooh. Back into sitting on the yoke. Hands come forward from there. We'll lift up. Take a little breath. Walk the hands in. The knees are off the ground. Keep the fingers out in front a little bit. Then let the hips come up. Into that forward bend. We'll walk the hands in line with the toes. Ribs against the side. Pressing down with the feet. Last breath in. And we'll walk the fingers into down dog. And once we're in down dog, we're going to allow ourselves to take the right foot to the outside of the right hand, but we want to try and keep the body over the center line of the mat, so it doesn't play out towards the side. Got a mat that happens to have a lovely line down the center. Your heart, your belly button, and pubic bone just follows that line as you come forward. You take yourself back to down dog. We draw the opposite leg out to the opposite side. Try and get the fingers and the toes to the line. You're looking for that shin to be vertical, hips below. Take a breath. You step back, down dog. Take the foot to the outside again. Try to minimize the sway out to the side. Take a little breath. You step back. And take a breath in here. Left leg goes out. And then we'll step back. This time we'll draw the right knee through the center, come up onto the tippy toe, bring the foot through between the hands, again, shin bone vertical. You're going to drop the back heel down so the foot is out at 45 degrees. Get the hands alongside your body. Allow yourself to lift up into your warrior 2. Now from there, we're going to take extended side angle, lengthen out over the front of the body, and bring your forearm just to rest without any weight into the inner thigh. Let the hand come into the groin so it tucks out of the way. You take the top arm up, palm forward, lengthen it out to the front of the mat, keeping the chest to the long side of the mat. Let the hand drop down to the floor, making a big circular motion. The idea is to take the breath in to come up, extend out and down. Now the back foot wants to press into the floor so you can feel the thighs engage and the glutes lift a little. Front leg, wobbly, is quite happily doing everything you need it to do. Remember, we're keeping the body lifted off of the thigh, not collapsing down or resting on it. You want the sides of the body to work as well as the legs. Now we'll come around and take the hand towards the back and lift into the warrior 2. Bring the hands towards the heart. Rotate your chest and your hips towards the front of the mat. Just squeeze your elbows back. Press into that back foot, still flat to the floor. On the exhale, extend your hands out as you lean over your front side, and then bring the hands down to the ground in line with the foot. Step back into that down dog. From here, we travel forward into a high plank. Take a breath and push on the tiptoes so your shoulders come over your fingertips. Bend the elbows back into your ribs as you come down to half plank. And the bootlaces down, strong legs. Lift into up dog, rolling the shoulders back. Lifting the hips, rolling over the feet or stepping. Either way, take a breath. Then scissor the right leg to the sky. Bring the knee in towards your chest. And putting the hands, fingertips in the lunge. Strong back leg. No bendies. Take a little rest. Rest off of those toes. Into the front of the mat. Into your forward bend. Bring hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little, and let yourself lift up. We'll do the whole thing again, second side. But take your hands high, then through the heart. Exhale down to the floor, a little softness in the knees. The weight goes to the toes rather than the heels. Just take the right foot back as deep as you can, dropping the heel in again at 45 degrees. Hands alongside the body. Draw your right arm forward and up to come into your warrior two. Stand out over your front thigh. Forearm, again, just resting on that leg. Hand into the groin. You're going to lift up, stretch that top arm up and over. It's 5 big circles. I'm going to come round the last circle, taking the hand towards the back of the mat, a lift again into my warrior two. Hands come into the heart, rotate the chest and the hips. Squeeze the elbows back, breath out with the belly in, bring the hands down. We're stepping back into down dog again. We come forward into that plank. Half plank, we twist forward, keep the hips high, strong legs, boot laces down. Inhale up, try to avoid dropping lower than your elbows. Exhale, back into your down dog. Scissor the left leg high, knee into the chest and foot through the center, into your lunge, onto your fingertips. Take the breath, push from the toes, into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back, we lift up. Take the hands high again, inhale. Bring them through the heart, soft knees and exhale down, belly in. Taking the breath, we're taking the left leg back, dropping the heel in, hands alongside the body. Going to lift up into our warrior two. Take a little breath. We're going to take both hands high above the shoulders, palms face in. Now you're going to turn the chest and the hips, but this time the back heel is going to lift from the ground into a high crescent. We're going to take a breath. Try to let the back knee drop down to the floor about half an inch from the ground without leaning forward on the front leg. You want to keep the front knee over your ankle as you come back up. We'll go back down into the dip, keeping the belly in. And a nice slow movement following the breath. So the idea is we really don't stop breathing and we really don't stop moving. Anything else is just a rest. Come down for the last time. And then as we lift up, we lunge forward and bring the hands to the floor. We step back into our down dog. Take a breath and forwards on the exhale into that high plank. Take another breath. Prepare the legs and the belly in. Push forwards on the exhale. Elbows into the ribs. Squeeze them in. Inhale up for that up dog. Roll the shoulders back. Back gently into your down dog. We'll scissor the left leg. Bring the knee through, foot to the front of the mat. In a lunge, lift onto the fingertips, strong back leg. Exhale to press into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, off knees and a flat back to lift. And then take the hands high. Through the heart. Soften the knees, forward bend. Uttanasana. Taking the breath and sending that right leg back deep. Dropping the heel in and coming into our warrior two. Right hand forwards to cartwheel up. Then take the hands high again, above the shoulders. You're going to rotate towards the front of the mat slowly and gradually, turning the heel from the floor. You're going to drop down carefully, half an inch from the ground, and lift our way back up. The big muscles, using lots of oxygen, breathe strong and deep. Come up, bring the hands down, step it back into dog, and forwards into the high plank. Breath in, strong legs, engage them first, push forwards, elbows, glutes turn down, inhale up, back into down dog. Do that right leg high, knee into chest, foot through, take a breath, whew, and stepping into the front of the mat. Forward bend again, hands under the hips, flat back. Remember to keep the knees a little soft. Inhale high. For this one, we'll take humble warrior. Exhaling down again, just as we've done before, weight into the toes. Take a breath, left leg goes back this time. We drop the heel, bring the hands alongside the body. Now we're going to cartwheel up into warrior two. And let the hands come behind your back. Draw your shoulders down. Draw your belly in and press your tailbone down to the floor. Negate any pelvic tilt. We're going to slowly turn the chest and the hips forward, keeping the back foot pressing down. I'm going to lean out and rest my body onto the front side. Something stays over the ankle. So lift the hands gently to the sky as I exhale. Take a breath. Let my body slide to the inside of this thigh, drop down so my shoulder almost rests between my legs, and the hands point to the ceiling. Crown of the head is down to the floor, eyes looking to the back of the mat. And now I can press the hips very lightly over towards the left side a little bit. Just take any sway of that occurred out of the body. And again, we'll let the hands come down to the floor. Step back to down dog. Come forward into that high plank. Push forward. Elbows. Remember not to come through like strong body, like a half plank, not a three quarters. It's an absolute half plank. Back into our down dog, from up dog. And we'll scissor the left leg high again. Knee into the chest, coming through. Into that beautiful lunge. Push on the exhale. Onto the hips. Soft knees. We'll lift up. So playing with the last side, inhale up. Hands through the heart. Exhaling down. Taking the breath, right leg back to the lunge. Put the heel in. Move alongside. We'll build again slowly. Lifting up. Hands come behind. Squeeze the shoulder blades down, belly button in, tailbone down. Rotate slowly forward. Lengthen out over the thigh. Let the ribs touch. Then begin to lift the hands on the inhale. Squeezing those shoulder blades together as high as you can. And then exhale, just a little slide onto the inside, making space. Once you feel balanced and settled, and your shoulders are happy, you start to press the hips a little over to that right side. Back leg working, pressing down, thigh lifting, as we've done before. Last breath in, we'll bring the hands down to the ground. Feather back into our down dog. And forwards into our high plank. Forward slowly. And down on the exhale. The belly in, strong legs. Take the breath in as you come into the up dog. Roll it back into your down dog. And then scissor that right leg high. Knee into chest and foot through. Take a little breath. And we'll step forward into the fold. Hands over the hips. Lift up. Inhale high. Hang through the heart. We're going to introduce this wonderful thing called Velcro. And in this instance, the piece of Velcro is going to be on our thigh and our ribs. And I'll show you where we're going to use it. We're going to take a breath, exhale down to the floor. You're going to take a little breath and step back with your left leg into that lunge. Hands to the floor, back to down dog. We'll come forwards into plank. We'll push forwards again into the half plank. Then the toes down for up dog. Roll it back, down dog. Going to take a breath. Chisel the left leg high. Draw the knee towards the chest. And bring the foot through between the hands. Now that Velcro has stuck our ribs and our thighs together. Going to push off the back toes in slow motion. Lean into the front leg. Bring your other foot into the forward bend, and then hopefully the ribs didn't lift away from the side. Hands over the hips and lift up on the exhale. Come forwards again, hands to the heart. Exhale down to the floor. We'll take a breath. We'll take the opposite leg back into our down dog. We'll come forwards into the plank. Take the breath and switch forward. Legs exchange, up dog, strong legs. Back into down dog. So this time to the right, bring the knee in and switch through. Another piece of Velcro, ribs are now stuck to the side. Take a breath in slow motion, lean into the front leg a little bit, draw the back foot in, into your forward back. Your hands onto your hips and let yourself lift up slowly. We'll step towards the back of the mat, just taking it out a little bit. And we'll take a standing pose. Now, depending on the floor you've got, I would suggest first of all, checking that there's nothing around in the immediate area. So I normally take one foot forward, swing it out to the side. And that gives me the idea of the space I need around me totally, front, back, and sideways. Because if I'm going to hop, that's the area I'm going to hop in. So bring the feet together a little bit, so the toes touch. Get a little space for the ankle. Now find something to focus on that isn't the screen and isn't me. Something in the room that you can work with. I'm going to load the weight into my left leg and allow the right knee to come up. I'm going to take it out to the side a little bit just so that I can take my right hand down without looking. I'm going to see if I can bring the index finger, middle finger around the big toe. I'm going to use the left hand out to the side for a little bit of balance and let myself stand up. 4. So if you've got a little bit of a wibbly wobbly foundation in terms of the flooring, you might need to move around to something else, or you can put your hands on the wall for some steadiness. Now we're going to try and keep the body upright and press the heel away directly out in front of the hip with straight leg. And then you're going to relax and bring the foot back in. Bring the foot down, take it out. And move over to the side just a little bit. Take a breath. Allow myself to take the load into the opposite leg. Start to bring that left leg up and slowly come down with the fingers. Again, try not to look, just feel. Let the body lengthen back up so that knee comes higher. Right hand is out to the side for a bit of balance. And we slowly press the leg out as straight as you can. And then we'll bring it back carefully. Ooh, step back onto the mat. You can start to move away. We're back where we were. We're still at the back of the mat. And I want the feet parallel, but distance apart. You put hands out in front of the body, palms facing in. I'm going to soften the knees gently over the toes. And then I'm going to start to sit back into stare. Now I want to tuck the pubic bone forwards a little bit, the tailbone down, the belly's in. Allow yourself to move into stare. And then slowly, I'm going to take hands up until the hands are in line with my torso. You want to try and stop the sway in your back. You're actually rounding your lower back around a little bit. You just tuck that tailbone under. Good chair pose. Doesn't make it any easier now where it's full. We'll let ourselves lift back up. Try and keep the hands still above the shoulders in line so we get some idea of how well we were doing. And we can drop the hands back down. Whew. Just a couple of breaths. Arms forward, mountain pose again. We're going to zigzag the toes in and touch. Again, a little gap for the ankle bones. We'll take hands out in front. This time the palms are facing down and they'll stay that way, out in front of the body. We'll soften the knees over the toes, squeeze the thighs together so they're touching. We'll see if we can lift the heels away from the ground. Allow yourself to slide down gently. Now you want to try and get to the point where it feels like your sitting bones have aligned with where your knees are. We haven't collapsed down onto the heels. We're at that tricky stage. Last breath in, and we're going to come up slow again, keeping the heels off the ground. Drive our way back up. Let the heels down and relax. Take it all out. And release those hands out again. Squeeze the knees, drop them over the toes. Carefully lift the heels away from the ground. You start to come down gently. Try and keep the spine straight, belly in. Imagine the line with your knees with your sitting bones. We try to lift slowly without putting the heels down and back up. And relax as much as you can as you step into the front of the mat. Take the arms wide as we inhale. Bring the hands through the heart. Soften the knees. And we're coming down to the floor again into that fold. Stepping back into our plank. Take a little breath. We'll let the knees come to the floor. Send the feet out to the side. And now we can take the feet through to the front of the mat. We'll make sure that as we lay back, our head is on the mat. And there's enough room behind you to actually extend your arms out all the way behind you on the floor. And the same for your legs, extend it out all the way to the front. Now with the legs out in front of you, take a little breath. Draw the feet down the center line towards you, knees together, onto the tippy toes as you draw your lower back into the floor. Get those abdominals to fire up and bring the knees now carefully above your hips. We'll extend the toes to the sky with the legs straight, the thighs engaged, toes pointing. It'll squeeze the legs together. We'll take the hands up above the chest, palms facing in, stretching out through the fingers. We're going to alternate the legs and arms. Now, as we take a breath in, we prepare, and on the exhale, we'll let the right arm and the left leg come down to the floor. But we're stretching out through the fingers and stretching out through the toes to keep the limbs straight. We try not to bounce into the floor, and then we come up incredibly slowly and using the whole of the breath. We want to negate that sway that happens if we pull the leg up really fast and to sway past the line of the hip. Imagine there's some invisible force that's stopping your leg from swaying towards you too far. Come in just alternating from side to side, keeping the lower back into the ground to keep yourself safe. If you do feel that you're going to start to get to that failure point, bring the legs up towards the ceiling and then bring them in towards your chest, rather than dropping your legs down to the floor uncontrollably. Quality is definitely the thing that we're looking for. Quantity is irrelevant. So if you do two and draw your knees in towards your chest, take a little pit stop, come back again, that's fine. You can even do them in ones. Thank you. Right arm last time. Left arm last time. And we'll bring them back up. And then we will indeed bring the knees in towards the body. We'll take the hands around the skin. Let the chin come in towards the chest. Bring the chest in towards the thighs. Wrap the arms around the shins. We're into a nice little hug. A bit of a rock from side to side. And then we're going to release the feet gently to the floor. As close to the bottom on the center line as we can with the thighs together. And we'll take the arms out wide. Now we're going to move the hips a little over towards the left side and down to the floor again and extend the right leg out fully. Lifting the left foot on top of the right thigh, we take a breath, keeping the shoulders on the ground. We're rotating the hips over towards the left, over towards the right. That around the wrong way. And then bringing that right hand on top of the left leg. We're just going to release the foot from the side so the big toe can rest against the floor. And take a few breaths. And to make this more fun, slowly flex your lower leg, foot towards you, and press out through the heel gently. You want that to feel like the pressure is incrementally coming on pound by pound. So we're on the side of that leg, very flex towards us, so pressing out the heel with a straight leg. You got the shoulder on the ground, relax as much as they can. And then we'll release everything and come back to the center. We'll bring that right foot in, move the hips gently over to the right this time and extend the left leg out. So the right foot lifts up onto left. Roll to the left side. Left hand just comes onto the top of the thigh as you come over. You let your foot swing out to the side a little bit. So now you've got a 90-degree bend between the hamstring and the calf. Your creak or crack in the spine as it manipulates itself. And then we're going to flex the foot to the bottom leg and press out through the heel incrementally. Taking the pressure stronger and stronger and stronger. But as we do so, we are trying to relax the top leg, the ribs, and the shoulders. It's easy to get confused and get both legs to feel tight. So we want the top leg to feel soft, bottom leg to feel strong. You might need to imprint that image in your mind of what you're trying to do and then see if you can associate it with the feelings that you get as your mind and body connect. We'll take one last breath here, and then we're going to roll it back gently where we were. We're going to bring both feet in towards the bottom again. Realign the spine. We're going to lift the hips a couple of times just to wiggle the tailbone forwards and get that lower back really nicely cemented into the ground. We'll come up onto the tiptoes as we draw the heels as close as we can into it. Now take a little breath. Allow the arms to come out wide. Now lift onto the tippy toes. Allow the knees to come over the hips and then extend the knees parallel to the ground. So a nice right angle between the chin and the thigh. We've got a right angle between the thighs and the body. We're drawing that lower back into the spine. We're simply going to tap the feet onto the floor. We're going to do them as pairs. So both feet come down to the ground, keep the lower back into the ground. You try and maintain that 90 degrees, a little tap of the toes, and we bring them back slowly again. And again, we work very slowly and consciously. So we don't want to draw the knees too close towards and from around the spine. Likewise, as the feet come down towards the floor and tap, we don't want the spine to lift away from the ground too much. We have to work very hard to let in. And go again. You come back. And you take the last one. And you come back. Keeping that spine against the floor, we're going to swing the arms out to the side and up above the shoulders. So the hands are, if possible, shoulder distance apart. You want to have your arms actually resting against the floor. If they're flaring around in the air, then they've just gone a little bit too close together. You take them out more to a wide shape. You take a breath from there, keep that lower back into the floor, and toe tap again, just exhaling out slowly, using those long split breaths that we developed at the beginning of the class. Inhale our way up. We exhale down. In the meantime, we come back again. Try and work out where your clinch is, where your knees are directly over your hips. The slower you take it, the easier it is to feel that in your body. You'll feel the gravity change as you come to that point. We've got two more. And the last one. Then just bend the knees in towards the body. Let the feet come to the floor, one leg at a time, close in. And let the hands come back down by the side of your body. Take a couple of breaths. Spine relax. And from here, we're going to take the hands very gently, interlace lightly around the back of the skull. So lightly, so that we're able to get the elbows on the ground out to the sides. And you probably notice that your ribs lifted up a little bit. And you've got a little bit of a pocket of an air underneath your back. So you're going to try and press your lower back into the floor. Get the elbows out wide. Come up onto the tiptoes. Draw the feet as close as you can in towards it. You're going to take a little breath and lift your chin just towards the chest again. On the next exhale, we're going to lift the chest towards the thighs and take the hands out past the legs. Keeping that spine, pressing lower back into the floor and the chest, lifted towards the thighs. We're going to extend the legs out, just following the line of the thighs. Called half bow. The toes point and the thighs squeeze together light. Slowly, let the legs come down. You put your big toes are more or less in line with your eyes. And then carefully curl it all the way back up again. Then use around the back of the head. Roll the spine gently down to the floor. Spine tucked in, as we've done before. And bend the knees and let feet come to the floor close to the bottom and relax. We'll build up again. Squeeze the thighs together, come up onto the tiptoes. Take the breath in, the lower back into the floor, chin to chest. When you're ready, take a breath and lift your chest. You can take your arms out towards the front, strong through the fingers. Extend the feet out and lengthen. Take a breath and lower down. 5 breaths. You lift again slowly on an exhale, hopefully. You'll lift in the chest up. Get the hands around the back of the head. Use the spine down, which is safe. Keep the belly drawn in and let the feet come down to the floor. And then take a breath. Release the hands from the back of the head. Take hold of the shins again. And let it rock from side to side. And then mindful of anything that might be on the floor next to you. Roll over to the right side. Let the legs come down. Hands come underneath you. You press away gently. And we lift up. Finally, we get to use the flat block, throat cushion, whatever we've got. We're going to lift up. Sitting bones are just raised a little bit off the ground. And we'll take the legs out in front. Little shape, little shimmy through the sitting bones as well, sitting up tall. Feet are together, just slightly pressing in. And toes are pointing towards us, so reflection and back, and we're pressing out through the heel, but being careful not to press the knees down. Now, we bring the right heel into the groin and let the chin come to the floor out to the side. We want to press into that a little bit. Square the hips up as we turned off, so now the chest is looking directly down the side that's extended to us. And we make sure that the foot is pointing up towards the sky, not out to the side. We get a little bend into that front knee and bring your hands onto the chin. Long spine and shoulders back. We're going to fold at the hips. Now it's the belly button that comes down first. Then you feel your ribs touch. Then you start to think about letting your chest come down. Then you start to let your chin move into that neutral position that you would have in the chest if you were walking. Now you're going to take the hands and very lightly bring them around the soles of the foot. You're not really going to pull, we're just placing them there and trying to relax the shoulders as much as we can. Using the body itself to lift up and out of the pelvis, and we're pressing into that bent knee chin as we push very lightly the tailbone towards the back of the mat. So the back and the shoulders really feel like they're doing nothing other than coming down to meet the knee, and the thigh and the legs both feel like they're doing a lot of work. We'll take a last breath here, bring the hands onto the floor and let ourselves lift up. We'll take the opposite to that, just taking the feet out, draw it in, turn a little gently, bend in the knees, hands on the shin. That bottom foot stays flexed, so the toes point in the same direction as the front thigh. Remember, we come down belly button first, and then lower the rest of the body on this layer. Hands come out very gently. Now, if you can't reach the sole of your foot, you just hold on to that ankle bone. That's perfectly okay, because we're not using it to pull forwards. It's really there just as a marker so we can keep the shoulders out of the way and keep them relaxed. Tailbone goes back a little bit, you'll feel the extra pressure in that hamstring on the bottom leg. Keep a little bit of work in the outside knee, pressing down. Last breath from there, and we'll bring the hands to the floor and let ourselves lift up. We'll take the legs out wide, and again, just make sure that we're sitting as far forward on the sitting bones as we can. If you've got square sitting bones, it becomes very difficult very quickly. We'll bring the left heel into the groin, and I'm going to turn the body so my heart faces the bent knee. I'm going to take the right hand out there for the moment. Now, once you're settled, and it feels like you've got both sitting bones with about the same amount of pressure, you're going to make sure that your outstretched leg, toes are pointed, flexed up towards the sky, and spread the toes out a little bit, and press out through that heel. And then take your right hand onto that shin. You're going to wrap your left hand around your back. Now you can either grab hold of your shorts or your waistband, or you can bring the fingers onto the side, whatever's easier. But we want to keep this left shoulder behind and rotating out. So now the chest is just lined to that leg. You're going to lift the body up and out over the right leg, keeping the chest open towards the sky. Get an index finger, middle finger around the big toe if we can, and elbow onto the shin. We press out through the heel a little bit, and we lift the chest up and out and make space. And we try and keep the bent knee pressing lightly into the floor for some stability. And we'll release from there. We'll take the legs over to the opposite side. So left leg in, straight out, right knee bends. We take the twist first of all. We get the weight through the sitting bones. It's very easy to sort of lean out to the side or back when coming to that. And you want to try and get as neutral position through the pelvis as you can. We take the left hand onto the shin. We'll wrap the right arm around again. Using the trousers is a very useful tool. Take a breath, lift up and out, lengthen out. We go as long as we can, as deep as we can. Then we find the toes, press the elbow into the shin of the leg, press the heel away, lift the body up, turn the chest to the sky. A little bit of pressure in the bent knee out to the side. And then we can release from there as well. So we'll bring the feet a little closer in towards us. I'm going to use the block behind just so that when we come to lay on the ground, I can see the top a little more easily. Feet out to the corner edges of the mat. Slowly roll down. So we use the hands, get into the chest. Roll the spine down so you feel every bone connecting with the ground gently. And then slide your heels out to the corner edges of the mat. Let the toes roll out. Close your eyes. Hands out to the side with the palms up. Let yourself just sink or float on this mat. Loosen your jaw. Take a couple of deeper breaths. Let yourself exhale out through your mouth. And then when you're ready, just allow yourself to enjoy some stillness. Very soft to keep your eyes closed. Breathe a little deeper and wiggle those fingers and toes. Right, as you bring ourselves back into the room, we'll move the wrists and the ankles around a little bit. Just some rotation. Bring the nervous system back up slowly. And take a longer breath in here and then allow ourselves to stretch out in any way that feels good and constructive. If you haven't already, we're going to slide the heels along the ground towards us. And then we'll carefully let one knee at a time come in, taking the hands around the shins. And the same with the opposite leg. And keep that very soft. There's no hard squeezes, there's no holding the breath. It's just a simple rocking from side to side. We're going to see if we can time with the eyes being closed and an exhale. Over to the right we go with legs and arms that touch the floor completely. We turn the chest in, the face down, the hands underneath, push away gently as we exhale to come back to sitting. And then sitting posture of choice, as long as it's easy. Hands into the heart. Take a longer breath in and close the eyes, sitting tall. Into exhale, letting the chin drop. The belly drawn in, slowly bow down to the floor. Feeling our practice for the evening. On the inhale, let the breath draw the spine back up. Let the head follow, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on this warm summer's evening. Hope you enjoyed and see you again on the mat soon.